Good evening. This is 44 Days. Today we'll talk about a case that shook a university community in Georgia. A young law student vanished without a trace, and the truth behind her disappearance left everyone frozen. Lauren Giddings was born on April 18, 1984, in Tacoma Park, Maryland. From a very young age, she stood out for her intelligence, her kind personality, and her great sense of humor. Those who knew her described her as loyal, warm-hearted, and someone with a genuinely positive outlook on life. She loved sports, especially softball and hockey, which she played throughout school and college. Lauren was deeply close to her family. She spoke with her mother almost every day, and she kept a strong bond with her sisters. They were always in touch, calling and texting one another daily. After completing her undergraduate studies at Agnes Scott College, a women's college in Georgia, Lauren decided to follow her dream of becoming a lawyer. She moved to Macon and began law school at Mercer University, where she quickly won the affection of her classmates and professors. There, she stood out not only for her academic performance, but also for her leadership and dedication. She often participated in extracurricular activities and had a great reputation. She was a very good student and a great friend. By June 2011, Lauren had just graduated. She was only one step away, the state bar exam, which she was scheduled to take in a few weeks to earn her license to practice law. While many of her classmates were taking a break and visiting their families, Lauren decided to stay in Macon to prepare. She wanted to do well. She was focused, meticulous, and left nothing to chance. On June 26, 2011, Lauren Giddings was 27 years old when her sister, Haley Giddings, began to worry. Lauren wasn't answering calls or messages. At first, it just seemed like she was studying hard for her exam. But even so, it was extremely unusual for her to go 4 whole days without replying to a single message. Haley then reached out to Lauren's best friend, Ashley Morehouse, who lived nearby, and she too had noticed her friend's sudden silence. When Ashley arrived at the apartment, everything looked completely normal. There were no signs of anything strange, but she did notice that Lauren's belongings, including her keys and her ID, were still in the room. Even her car was parked right outside. Ashley called the police to report Lauren missing, but they didn't do much that day. Since Lauren was an adult, they didn't take her disappearance very seriously. So Ashley decided to contact Joe Palastro, another friend from their group. Stephen McDaniel, Lauren's neighbor, also joined the search. Together, they looked everywhere for her. They asked around campus, checked the surrounding areas, everywhere. They even posted flyers, but the search led nowhere. News of Lauren's disappearance quickly spread throughout the university community and the local media. Reporters began interviewing Lauren's classmates and friends. Everyone agreed she was a good student and a responsible young woman. She would never leave home without telling anyone, especially not at a time like this, just weeks away from becoming a lawyer. Even Lauren's parents, William and Karen Giddings, decided to travel to Macon to help in the search for their daughter. As the case gained public attention, on June 30th, 4 days after Lauren had last answered any messages, the police finally began to take it seriously. They went to her apartment and noticed the same thing. All her belongings were still there. If she had left, why didn't she take her car or her keys? And that's when something happened. While some officers were inspecting Lauren's apartment, others remained outside near the patrol cars. Those officers who stayed downstairs began to notice a strange smell, a smell they knew all too well. They started checking the area, and inside a trash bin, they found a human torso. Faced with this horrific discovery, police began to search the surrounding area, but nothing else was found. Later, the torso was sent for DNA testing, and the results confirmed it was Lauren. But back to the scene that day. Inside the apartment, investigators used luminol to detect traces of blood. In the bathtub, they found a massive amount. Whatever had happened, it likely happened there. The most probable conclusion was that Lauren's body had been dismembered in that very place, which explained why the rest of her remains were missing. From that moment on, everyone became a suspect. That same day, the local press was interviewing students. Lauren's neighbor, Stephen McDaniel, gave a televised interview. And when the reporter asked him what he thought now that a torso had been found in the trash, he collapsed. As shown in this video,
I mean, she had a door jamb that was sitting right by it, so there was no sign that anyone broke in. I mean, the door was locked when everyone got here. I mean, we just don't know where she is.
What about in the parking lot area? I know they've been doing a lot of, I think that's where they have recovered the body or whatever they recovered from there.
Body?
Had you seen anything there? Had you seen anything there? I mean, we don't know if this is the same person. You know what I mean? Like, they took out a body there earlier. We don't know if it's the same person or not. That's how we're trying to ask people if they know who lived there. Are you okay, sir?
I think I need to sit down.
Okay.
Many people were moved by his reaction. He seemed devastated by the loss of his friend. The university community was in shock. There was a killer on the loose, and everyone was scared. The police decided to focus on Lauren's close circle. As in many of these cases, the first suspect was the victim's romantic partner, David Van Diver. They had met at university and he was 20 years older than her. He lived in Atlanta. Their relationship had been on and off during her time in law school, and at that moment, they were planning to move in together. Although, according to some people, David didn't actually want that to happen. He was called in for questioning. He cooperated fully, handing over receipts from every place he'd been. Soon enough, the police had to let him go. There was nothing linking him to the crime. Other suspects were also investigated. One was Lauren's ex-boyfriend, who had also joined the search efforts since he lived nearby. Another was the building's janitor, who was found in possession of a saw, the same kind the police believed had been used to dismember the body. But unfortunately for the investigators, both men had solid alibis, and both were cleared of any suspicion. With no viable suspects, no strong leads, and the case seemingly at a dead end, the police returned to the apartment complex where Lauren had lived. They started by speaking to her next-door neighbor, the same man who had become known for his emotional interview on the news, Stephen McDaniel. Stephen Mark McDaniel was born in 1985. He was a quiet young man, known for being introverted and socially awkward. He attended Mercer University in Macon, Georgia, just like Lauren, and they had taken many of the same law classes. They had interacted several times over the years, though they were never particularly close. Still, Stephen had developed a silent obsession with her. He had asked her out on multiple occasions, but she always turned him down. When police spoke with him, they noticed he was extremely nervous, and his apartment was in terrible condition, so they decided to return with a warrant to search the place. What they found was disturbing. Among the strange items discovered were several packs of condoms, which immediately caught the officer's attention. Stephen had stated in his interview that he practiced celibacy, that he wanted to remain a virgin until marriage. When questioned about the condoms, he gave a chilling response. He confessed that he had a master key to the building and that he used it to enter other tenants' apartments, stealing small objects as souvenirs. Investigators also found bizarre items, like a ruler with a camera taped to the edge, and a pair of women's underwear, believed to belong to Lauren. Though that was never officially confirmed, they also found a set of bed sheets identical to those discovered in the trash, the same sheets that had been wrapped around Lauren's torso. Police arrested Stephen for theft and took him to the station. While he was being held there, they discovered something deeply disturbing. Stephen's camera and computer were filled with material related to Lauren, photos and videos of her. He had used the ruler-mounted camera to spy on her, and his browser history revealed searches about how to make a body disappear. There was also a large amount of violent pornographic content, including some involving minors, though that part of the case was handled separately. At that point, police realized something chilling. Stephen's emotional reaction in the now famous interview wasn't from grief. It was because he had just been found out. He had been completely convinced he would get away with it. With all this evidence, police knew they had the right person. All they needed now was a confession, or something to tie it all together. They brought him in for questioning, and during the interrogation, they confronted and pressured him until he broke. Stephen agreed to a plea deal. He would confess everything in exchange for dropping the theft charges. After nearly 2 years of investigation and legal delays, on April 21, 2014, Stephen McDaniel finally pleaded guilty and confessed to killing Lauren Giddings. In his statement, he described in cold detail how he had entered Lauren's apartment in the early hours of June 26, 2011, while she was sleeping. He had used a master key he had stolen long ago, the same key he'd used in the past to sneak into neighbors' homes and steal small items. He wore gloves and a ski mask. Once inside, he stood and watched her for a moment, but Lauren woke up. Startled, she tried to run. Stephen made her fall to the ground. He explained that her legs had ended up under the bed, making it easier to restrain her. During the struggle, he lost his ski mask, and Lauren recognized him instantly. That's when he knew he couldn't let her live, so he strangled her. Afterward, he dragged her into the bathroom. He flushed the gloves and ski mask down the toilet. Then he placed her body in the bathtub and dismembered her. Over the following days, he slowly disposed of the parts in trash bins across the university complex. He left the torso for last, and that's how the police eventually found him. Stephen McDaniel was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 30 years, which means in 2041. After his conviction, Stephen attempted several times to overturn his sentence. In 2018, his father launched a GoFundMe campaign to raise money for a possible appeal, claiming his son hadn't received a fair trial. However, the campaign was quickly taken down by the site, who deemed it inappropriate. That same year, Stephen decided to represent himself. He filed a motion to overturn his conviction, alleging constitutional violations during the legal process. But the court denied it. Later in 2022, he filed a habeas corpus petition, claiming that key legal documents had been improperly reviewed by the prosecutor, which, according to him, compromised the validity of his confession. But once again, his efforts failed. The sentence remained unchanged. Stephen McDaniel is currently serving his sentence at Hancock State Prison in the state of Georgia. Meanwhile, Lauren's family has continued trying to recover the rest of her remains. Sadly, nothing else has been found. This case didn't just leave a devastated community behind. It also exposed how obsession, isolation, and darkness can hide behind any door, behind a familiar face, behind someone who smiles at you in the hallway, behind a neighbor. This was the case of Lauren Giddings. I hope you found this video meaningful. If you did, feel free to check out some of my other videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, consider subscribing. I'm just getting started and it would mean a lot. This was 44 Days. Good night.